Hi everyone. So welcome to today's live stream, and today I would like to present formatters to you. And so first of all, I would like to ask everyone to put into the chat, write into the chat if you're using ExtJS Modern or Classic. That would help me to figure out for the future what I'm talking about. And yeah. So you can see my contact information down there and there. And yeah, this stream is about having fun and coding and probably learning one or the other thing. And yeah, this is the first time I'm streaming and I'm nervous. So just if you could put something into the chat, that would help me. And there's about an 8-second delay. So if you write something and I comment to that, that is about 16 seconds until until you hear what I saw. So yeah, thanks for joining, and I hope you're having fun. So let's see. First of all, today we would like to go over creating a new app, and then to figure out how can you use formatters and what different formats of formatters are available. So let's see how to start. We will start with creating a new app. So okay, looking very pro. Thanks a lot, Diplopito. So I'm trying to see. I'm just reading in between what you're writing, so it might be a bit awkward, but okay. So let's start with creating a new app. So I'm using Sencha command. Most of you might use that. You probably use npm to create new apps. But let's start with my Sencha command. And I'm generating a new app. This one will be only modern for today. I see that most of you are using universal apps, so I'm pretty sure you're aware of the differences. Yeah, if you have any comments during this live stream, please leave them, and I'll try to read them and get them somehow into my presentation. And yeah, let's start. So I'm running Sencha command 7.3, and this will create our new app, which is called Formatter. And I hope during the different presentations I might do on this format to build a new app probably, and so that whenever you come back you can see something familiar, and so we grow with that together. And now that I ran that, we should already have a new app in here. Awesome. So the next step would be just to launch Sencha App Watch, and it must be run from application. Oh, sorry, CD apps formatter. So let's rerun that, and now it should work. Awesome. And getting into here, into apps, into formatter. So this is the basic what you get right after the beginning of creating your new app. Now let's try to get more out of that. So first of all, I would like to add more data. I prepared this data so that we can use that. I will just copy it and go to the formatter resources and create a new file. Let's call that data.json and paste all our data into there. So this was the first. Now we have to change the model. I would like to get rid of the personal store. It's not really something I would like to use for my examples. I'm usually using stores inside the ViewModel. So I will create in this ViewModel, let's get rid of this to do and add stores in here. And yeah, we call it personal. And this is supposed to be type Ajax and autoload. We want the data right away. And sorry for that. So we need our model in here, which should be formatter model personal, right? So now we need our proxy, and so I already added the type here. Let's add it to here, and so I guess we need the URL, which should be resources/data.json. So this is yeah. Now, how about adding a reader? To get the data into the correct format. If we are not using a reader, it would just take their resources and add them as they come, but we want to run our definition in the model on the store. So this is supposed to be type JSON with the root property of data. So let me open up the data. We do, oh, this is a lot of data. So we do have our root property in here, so that's why I'm adding this. And so this is my root property with data. And yeah, now we can get rid of this store, delete. I believe it's still here in the requires, so we have to get rid of that. The store has to get a binding, and let's add it to here. This one, remove that, make it a binding. Okay, so we created our binding for the store. We have these data which are not the same as we used in the old store, but I will come back to that later. First of all, I would like to add to the fields. So let me reopen this, grab the first data record, add it to here, and let's add. So ID is our standard ID property. So we do have name, then we have to add work. And if I'm adding it like this, this means it's a string and there is no converter running over these fields, and everything will be used as is in there. So next is email. We do have that. Date of birth, that is something different. So we are adding here name, date of birth, and the type should be date. And now we need a date format to tell Sencha ExtJS what's the incoming date format about. And as you can see in here, we have day, month, year. So we're adding day, month, 4-digit year. And we're ready with this. Next would be address. So we have this, city. And the last one, again, is a special because it's a Boolean. So let's just duplicate this, get the opted in, copy, paste, it's Boolean, and that should do. Adding a comma here, removing this. And I believe so far we do have our information. Now let's grab this and go to our list, because we do have to add everything we just added to our columns just to ensure we get all the data in the grid. But I'm not using all of them. That makes it a bit squishy later on in our grid. So I'm using name, work, email, phone, let's see, address is pretty much the same, city is nothing special. So, date of birth would be cool. Birthday, data index is the date of birth, and opted in should be one. So this is our Boolean, and let's say it's a subscription. It's pretty much the same as in here, so use it. And we're going to use subscription on, now I deleted it, let me just copy paste it. Okay, so I want to have this 250 birthday. Let's start with 200. Email should be a flex of 1, and this one should be a flex of 1 too. So now let's see what our browser comes up with. Okay, so here we do have all our data, and now you can see that we do have a couple of things which are not readable the way we would like to have it. And okay, so someone mentioned PHP Storm, which ExtJS version. Let me just read through the comments. ExtJS 7.3 and PHP Storm, last Sencha plugin. Yeah, I'm sometimes using IntelliJ or PHP Storm, but it's basically the same. The ExtJS plugin crashes, so yeah, it should work for VS Code. And I know a lot of people working with VS Code, so whatever you feel more comfortable with is, I would say, the best choice for you. Okay. Birthday. Yeah, the birthday. It's not really the format we would like to have, and now we will start with our formatters. So I know there are about 4 different ways to write this, and I will go through all of these. So if you think this is wrong, just stay with me a bit, and I'm pretty sure we will find a solution to that. So let me see. Oh, the first thing that strikes me always is this one. It says bold, and you can't really see the name in bold. I have no idea why they're not using really bold on this one. Let me rerun this. And now we should have a bold version of it. That's what I say is bold. And so otherwise it's pretty hard to figure out why this works. I will go more into details about cells later on. For now, let's just stay with this and with this formatting option for a column. So we were trying to do something on the birthday. Let's see. We could use renderer. Pretty much you can do things like adding a function and defining what you would like to return into that function. And this is awesome, so let's start with that. So our value in here, our data index value, let's say this is our DOP, let's stay with that naming. And now we would like to format that. And ExtJS came up with something that's called ExtUtil, util of format. And now we can use something that's called dateRenderer. And a shortcut for that is to leave all this, just add the dateRenderer as a function, and let's see what happens. Okay, so now we do have some kind of format here, but it's probably not what we want. In Europe, especially in Germany, we write it with day, month, year divided by dots. So let's try for that one. If I'm adding in here day, month, year, let's rerun that. So this is our date format. But there's another way of writing it. So let's duplicate the line and see what happens if we go with function and adding and this in here and just use date. So the date renderer and the number renderer are only available for putting it right away into the renderer. Let's just see what's happening here. Okay, so nothing. That is weird. Okay, ExtJS Format. What am I mistyping? Let me just date renderer. Let me just check that. And that one doesn't work at all. So date it's not a function. Oh, renderer. Okay, so I misspelled it. Okay, still nothing. Now, what did I misspell? Date, month, year. Oh, my bad. Return. So now we get our result, and it says none. So we still need date renderer. And let's start with this one. And it returns a function. This is not what we want. So what you could use instead is, you could go instead and say, I'm using a formatter. And the formatter allows us to use date only, the formatter we would like to use, and adding day, oh, now we have to use double quotes, day, month, year. And we run this. And here we go. So there are different ways of using this. There was one more I was going to show. Let me just check what I mistyped. should be, let me just grab it over here and see. No, it seems everything is right. Okay. Let me add up here so that we get into different formatters. Try renderer, thanks a lot, I'll try that. Copy, and I'll try this one in here. So let me get this away. V, I have no clue what I misspelled in there. F12 seems I'm missing something, a comma. No, this is my last line. Renderer. ExtJS format dateRenderer. Yeah, that's the first one that I had, which was working. Though I'm not completely sure what so render double point ExtJS. Let me just see what I'm getting in here. Rerun this to see what's the error. Expected property got failed load formatter view list from. So I do have some kind of error in here somehow. Oh, now I added this one and missed to add that one. Okay. Awesome, works right away. So this one was working. Now I wanted to show something else, which is we're just returning this one, date. Let me see if that works. No, it's not returning. Birthday, date of birth, renderer. Oh, value. Did I add the value in here? So let me call this dob. So that was my mistake. I missed to add the value into here, and yeah, now it's working. So we do have a couple of different, so this one was the same in here. If we added the value in there and adding the value in here, it works. Okay, so we do have, I told you that we will have different ways of writing this. The first one was this one, which is just ECMA 6. So what this actually spells to is function, and this one spells to return. And so this is the difference, and you can see that it is actually the same as the line below. Okay, so let's stick with our formatter, because I think, which one would you use? Top of file, let me just read. Top of file column. Oh yeah, I was missing that, thanks a lot. So, as I said before, there's about a 16-second delay, plus I'm not always looking into the comments, so it takes me some time, and next time I'm doing something wrong, I will probably look into the comments right away. And yeah, which one would you use? Which one is what you prefer? I'm not saying this is the best, it's just what I like the best. And we will look into that later on, how code-wise this works. And probably figure out what's really the best way, the best implementation from Sencha side was. So we came up with the first date formatter. And now let's go into, I was just about to add a new column in here, and it should be text ID, and the data index should be our ID. And I just want to have a width of, let's say, 150. Why I want to have a width of that much, I will give you information on that later on. So let me just see. I went over this, so that is pretty cool. I do have a script up there so that I do not forget too much what I wanted to show you. And yeah, let's go with the next one, the email one. I wanted to add a formatter uppercase. And let's see what's happening. Rerun this. Okay, so I think this is pretty awesome. You get out of the box everything in uppercase, and that is pretty cool. And just by adding this, why I was just reading that others use renderer, which is totally fine. It's just after getting used to this formatter config, I prefer that. It's pretty short and you can do tons of things with that. Let's say we would like to have lowercase. It was lowercase. Let's say we add uppercase, double point, lowercase, double point, capitalize. Let's see what's now happening. So what's happening is it did all the different steps, and now we get capitalized, although in between we were saying uppercase, everything uppercase, and then please do everything lowercase. It doesn't make sense. It's just to show that you can put one after another of these formatters. Let's stick here with uppercase. I think that makes the most sense for now, that we want to have something totally different from what we had. Now, what I would like to do in here is to come with a formatter. Let's first go with the short one, usMoney. And this one will just add, this will make the ID, which is just a number, with 2 digits behind the dot or comma, and behind the separator, and add a $sign in front. So let's go for something more European, and let's say currency, and now we do have to add a lot. So the first thing would be we want to add the euro sign, or pound sign, probably we get that. And then the next one is to add, there were so many different ones. Let me just go in here, F12, and let's say ExtJS format currency. Okay, so value currency. So the value which you see in here is actually automatically included. We do not have to add that for the formatter. Currency sign, we added that. Decimals. Okay, we want to have 2 decimals, and we want to have the euro sign at the end, not at the beginning, so this is true. And we want to add a space. Oh, we want to have a space between our money and the currency. So let's see if that worked. Awesome. So this is what I wanted to have in there, and that's awesome. So now we do know how much it costs, how to make something fat, how to uppercase something, to format the birthday. We still have our subscription, and we want to have something more readable probably. And I will do tons of things now which do not really make a lot of sense in a real app, but we want to have that in here to make sure that we can read it, and we added a lot of different things in here. So first of all, let's start with our opted in. So as soon as this is typically how I write it, and as soon as I use a calculate or a convert, I'm splitting up the object in multi-lines. So I would like to convert our value, and at the end I would like to receive, if value is true, I want a 1, and otherwise I want a 0. Okay, so let me return x, y, so. Okay, so now let's see, first of all, in our application, how this works out. I use mixer format and predefined renderer. Okay, yeah. Can we also format, in this case, the decimal divider? Yes, you have to format the decimal divider before you start your application. Let's go into that in just a bit. So now we do have 0 and 1. And there's one formatter that allows us, subscription opted in, to do a bit more code. So let me just copy it so that I do not misspell it. Copy and add in here the renderer. Okay, so I'm using in here the renderer because I have tons of different things in here. So to keep this readable, I will do this in multi-lines. And so we do get our value, and we are using pick. Pick says whatever the value is, use. So this could be, let's say, number 2, 0, 1. So we would have to add a new line to have the third value, for example. But we're just using 0 and 1, so we are fine with that. Let me see if I misspelled something. Let's see how this works. So now we get exactly what we were asking for. We're getting span style, color red and green. This is what we typed in here, but this is not how we want to have this, right? So to allow our column to show HTML, we have to tell cell, and to allow our cell to show HTML and code HTML false. So now we get all the cool stuff, hopefully. Yeah. So we're getting best man subscribed. Oh, no. So if you're not sure what subscription is, let me help you. And okay, so in here, can we format dating driver? Yes. Let me see if I put that anywhere. Let's go to app.js and add a launch function in here. And within the launch function, we could add ExtJS format. There's the 1000 separator and the decimal separator. So if you add it to here or to the before launch method, the before launch will actually use this call parent. And what happens now is that this main view won't be generated until you call this call parent. So whatever you do up front will ensure that everything gets into all of your views. So that is probably the point where to do this. I hope this answers the question. And that way we can use the decimal driver. Could you please try the Boolean with check column and add the checklist? Yeah, I thought that we would come up with a lot of questions about columns, and I will definitely do another session on the grid, because this is more about check columns, is more about grid and so on. And today I would like to cover more of the formatters. Lists, and now we have the renderer. Yeah, so now we're just missing color green and red. What? Oh, by copy pasting, I unfortunately did not add a space in there. So here are our colors, and yeah, this is most likely something I would put in a renderer and not in a formatter, because we do have all these lines, and I feel more comfortable with single line stuff in a formatter and multi-line stuff in a renderer. So yeah, that seems to me that whoever said before that they are using different ways of implement it, yeah, that's the same with me. So let me just see what's next in my we did this lowercase cover, yeah, we did that. Oh yeah, now something really cool. I guess I could close all these. We do have what we wanted to have, and I would like to not just show how this works in a grid, but also in data binding. So let's go over here and to do, yeah. So in here we do have our main list, and if we add a, let's say, container below, X type container, and let's say this one, oh, let's make this a panel so that we can use title to have a splitter in there. Title with result, and we want to have a body padding of 15, just to make sure it doesn't really fit underneath the title. And now I would like to add data binding. So let's go for bind, and we are binding the HTML, and we want to bind, let's see what we had in here, our subscription. So oh, the email. I think let's go for the email. So this would be selected.email, and let's add in here a binding to selection, and have our selected. Did I spell that correct? Selected, yeah, almost. So yeah, now. So what I'm doing now is, by clicking into the grid, we get a selection, and the selected record is gets into the selected of our main model. So I always write things like that into my ViewModel, just to make sure that whoever comes after me sees that this is reserved by my code. So we do have the selection now. I'm still not a fit. No. We want to have a VBox to make sure that one is underneath the other. And to make sure this gets enough space, we are doing a height of 200, let's say 250. to 50, and let's see if this works. Okay, I did something. Oh, sure. No, that was not the one I was thinking of. So this is, what's the X mixin apply bind cannot bind selection on formatter view main list missing a set selection method. Set selection. Oops, did I spell wrong in here? Line 33. Bind selection selected. Typo in selection property. Oh, thanks. Selection. Awesome, thanks. Yeah, now we do not have the height we wanted to have up here, so let's make this a flex of 1. We do get our result field now, and now we get everything. Thanks a lot. Let's select something in here, and oh, we still have a listener on that. So we get our result in here, which is exactly what we wanted. Let me just shut off the event, the listener down here. Missing C. Yeah, thanks a lot, Frank. Thanks. So let's go through this. And now we shouldn't have the, now we only get our selected record into the selection, and we bind on the email, so that's why we do get our selection down here. Now, this is pretty cool for now, and what we are going to do is to add some kind of a formatter. Let's go again, just to make sure that this is uppercase. Let's make this uppercase too. So we're going into here, and we're adding right afterwards uppercase. And let's run that. I will, that was probably a bit too fast, just to see it works. It works. Let's go back here. And just by typing uppercase, we get the result we were looking for. And I think that is pretty awesome. So we do have all these different formatters now, and we use them in data binding as well as the grid. And I'm working with a lot of data binding in my project. They save a lot of, just a second please. Sorry. They save a lot of coding in the controls usually. When I come to a new project, I often come to new projects by customers, and they didn't use data binding a lot or at all, because they were coming from 4 or even from 3. And starting with 5, we just got the real option to use data binding. And therefore, they never started to use it. And when you start to use it, usually you can at least dump 1/3 of the code, which data binding is doing for you. So that's why I really love to add these formatters, to have them right away in the correct format. Other than that, you could do everything in the personal in here. You could like convert everything the way you want them and write that to your fields definition, but then you might end up adding setters, so that when you change something and you send it back to the server, you have to convert it back into something, and keeping the model the same as the data that came in, and if possible, doing the changes in the data binding or in the grid. If it is not too much, if it works that way, that's what I prefer to do. Let me see. And oh yeah, I forgot one thing to show you. Just let me see where I put that in here. Awesome. So in our list, I mentioned I was going to show more different ways to do this. And now that we handled data binding with a formatter, we could make use of that in our list. So going back to our list, I would like to change the name. Let me see, name. Okay, the name, and go in here. So now that we did the data binding, let me just copy this. Oh, I did it as an image. We could use template, because template is this will be later on done as an ext template. So whatever I write here becomes an ext template, and ext template can use data binding. And so let's go with span, and I would like to have it really large, and put style equals font size, and let's make it 20 pixels. And so we got that. Let's make it this way with a semicolon at the end, and at the end of the span, and in between we use our data binding. So we start with adding this, adding the name, and I want to have this uppercase. So now what it does is, first of all, we will see that later on in the code. First of all, it takes a look, do I have a template? If so, use it. If not, let's see, do I have a renderer? If not, continue. Do I have a formatter? Okay, so this is, I guess, the way that everything grew. Formatter came in last. And let's see if that works at all. Yeah, this, let me just inspect this, if it works. Oh, it says font style. Oh, see, I want to add in here, I prefer to have multi-line objects at the end, but after all objects comes something like the template or a handler. So whenever you see me coding, you will find the same way of doing these things, of putting everything into order. Like I usually do text first. Let me just scroll down to see if I'm missing. No. I'm usually doing text first because text is defines most likely what the user will see. So if I compare my result in the browser with my code, the first thing I might recognize is the text. Even if you have some kind of translation in Word, it should show you exactly what's it. The data index has something like L name, last name, F name, first name, and stuff like that, or DOP. DOP is probably something that you need some time to understand. It should be date of birth. And therefore, I have always the same way to write things. And first thing is always the text, data index, then how much space it takes for a column, and then all the multi-line stuff, which in here we have to add, we have that down here already, encode HTML, which we need to ensure that this span really gets used. So rerun this. And now we do have our really huge names in there. Yeah, this was the fourth way of doing it, and that's for the formatters. Now, I did put up something, a small fiddle. It's not perfect. It shows you some things, and you can easily do date, for example, and you'll see the result down here and the usage, how you would use it in data binding. And you just type in 3D8E. Let me just type this. Okay. Okay. If someone could share that in the chat, that would be awesome, because I missed to actually add my credentials to my OBS so that I can share it right now. Please, if someone could add it, that would be awesome. It's this 3D8E. So let's go over some other stuff, like uncapitalized is awesome. You could say, okay, I do not want to capitalize, so the first letter will be lowercase. And for some things which I thought need some clarification, I did some more information down here, return value. What I basically did, I put all the formatters into a database, loading them, and have the args and what I need in there. So if you wonder why I do have clown and hero in the first line, which seem not to make sense, as a hero formatted doesn't exist, I wanted to show that you could easily write your own formatters. Let's go into here and see what I did. So I just, before your application runs, you remember that I was showing this before launch and on launch. You could easily add these things in there and you'll receive your own custom formatters. So I'm defining executable format hero, and I want to use the value and a post value. If I do not have a post value, return hero, otherwise that value. And let's see that in action. I'm a clown will write I'm a clown. If I do not write anything in there, it says I'm a hero, because I'm not putting anything in there, I guess. So if I start typing, it will add all these in there. And this is awesome for data binding. So I'm a queen, whatever that means. I'm a king, whatever that means. So this is pretty cool to have those things. Or in here, the string format, I'm saying, okay, I'm adding some kind of a string, and you could receive that from the server, and you would want to always add your args in there. Let's go for string format. So I do have a first placeholder and a second one. Let me add a next placeholder in here, which is number 2. And now I'm just adding a value, which should be, there are 12 things to know about world 0. Okay, so this is the standard X string format, which gives you the ability to do that, and I'm just doing a formatter out of that. That's awesome. You can use that if you have like translations to do. This one is really helpful. If you want to return in different languages, you might have Mrs., Mr., Queen, Queen, stuff like that in different positions of your sentence, and you can't just do a plain translation if you have to add the name of the person. And so yeah, therefore I usually have something like that in my language strings to allow me to use this right there. Okay, so Could you just type in the comments if you ever used custom formatters? That would be awesome and helpful. Okay, just another zip. Okay, now where do I get an overview of all these formatters? Okay, this one really gives you an overview of all the formatters with some little examples. But the real source should be not my personal math stuff in here. It should be the formatters. So ExtJS format, and as you can see, this is with the 1000 separated decimal currency, precision, and all these things. Thanks, Lucas. And here is a rather old example. I would hope they would come up with formatter in there for 7.3 if they're using it. That'd be really helpful. And here you see with what I was talking about in my code with the template. You see X template and how it's used, and with the double point date and how you can use all these things. But the real interesting stuff comes here from the methods, where you see capitalize, currency, date renderer and number renderer are rather for the renderer so that you can use them right away. These were the only two you could use in the past. Now with the formatter and the new ExtJS format, you can use all of these. Escape, ellipsis, if you want to cut off your word. This is really cool, I have to show you. Because it's doing two things, it's not just, let me see if I find ellipsis, here. So what this is doing is, it's counting up to 8. So this would be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So actually it would be here. And now by saying true, it will try to find the point where it makes most sense to cut it off. So see, 8 and 9 is exactly the same, 10, and you get the next one, 11, and it will stay the same. Even up to 12, it's still the same, because it's going through, okay, where was my last comma, dot, or empty space? And let me start there to place these dots. I really like that one. Okay, let's go back here. Escape. Yeah, I put examples for everything in there. File size. File size is awesome too. Let's go in here and say A equals 10,000. Like that. So now ExtJS format, file size, A. And it will say, okay, this is 9.8 kilobyte. Now, what we 10, 1, 2, 3. So this is almost 10 kilobytes. This is 70, 97. Again, kilobyte, megabytes, 94. So now we get to gigabyte, and all this after a gigabyte. It's not getting smaller. I guess in the future they might want to add something to stay safe with that. Okay, so yeah, I really like these. You just have to find the ones you would like to use. HTML decode and encode. If you receive from the server your information in different formats, you might want to use that. Yeah, just if you're interested in more of these, just try all of these in here. I try to put all of them in here. Hex, I don't see really how you could use that in the front end to show to your customers, but it might be helpful if you're doing some kind of application for a company doing mathematics stuff or biologic stuff. That might be helpful. Percent, and repeat. If you say, okay, I do get from the server, my data is 3. And you say, okay, I would like to have this as many times as in here. And sorry, this one, the first, I can't select it. Yeah, this one. This one gets repeated as often as you have it in here, and they add a separator like the second one. In here, I put an empty space before and behind so that I get a nice layout of that. Okay, now what I really would like to do is to look into Hexes also uses setting colors. Oh yeah, that's true. Cool, yeah. I never thought about that. That is actually a good idea. Very cool idea. I have to play a bit with that. Let's search for our column. That's usually how I prepare myself or look up things. So going to the column, and we saw in our code that we are doing quite a few things on the cell. And what happens with the, let me switch back. What happens with the template renderer and the format is they get passed to our cell. So let's go in here and shorten it to cell. So, and it says in here we have to look at xgrid cell. And this is our cell. Let's go to the source code and search for format. So this is just the first column format. So in here we see, if I belong to a column, get me the template, get me the renderer, and get me the formatter. If the renderer, oh, I was wrong. First they try to find the renderer. If there is no renderer, continue with template. Otherwise, continue with formatter. And that's how they generate this. And so if you try to figure out, so why I put a template and a formatter in there, why isn't my formatter used and why is the template used? You can always see in which order things are used from the source code. That's what I do a lot of times to understand more of the code. And if you think that this is something you're interested in, you should definitely start doing it or continue doing it, because the source code just gives you so much more information than just the help. And by reading it, it's just a lot of help, I think. Yeah, now that is basically what, if you want, you can leave me a comment if you do read a lot of source code or if you prefer to take sessions like this to understand more about it. And so that the next time I'm doing something, you might want to see more of the more help in the source code. And yeah, that's as far as I prepared something. Any questions from your side? Anything you would like to see? It's just taking about 16 seconds until you receive an answer, but just I want to make sure that you get the best result quality-wise, and therefore we have to live with the time difference. That's awesome, you like it. Yes, I think at some point while getting behind bugs or understanding the documentation a bit better, I think you have to read the source code. That's exactly how I started with all of this. And if I'm like, for example, let me just open another fiddle search, author 1, and drag and drop. It's not in here. Why? Oh, I'm not logged in. Let me just go to my other browser because I'm logged in there and go for fiddlesencha.com. I will move over the other screen in a second. Let's just stay with the source code in here, and I'll move this browser over here. Search one. I did a Google Maps proxy, which allows, I would have to enter again my Google Maps credentials, IP key. You could type in here a name, and it asks the Google Maps server for the information. It's not working because I didn't enter my IP key. If you in here, see, I add your key here. And what I did is I did this proxy and I tried to understand how exactly is the proxy working. And the point was that was really hard to figure out without the source code. You can't just add something in here. Like this one is useless. I just put it in here as an example. If you want to add more information, and you have to build a request, I wanted to have a failure function and a success function, and to do all this, to automatically pass all these information to my sorry, I was just reading a comment here which was deleted right away. So I wanted to have this information in here without adding some kind of Ajax request on every change event of my combo box, so that I try to get this as a proxy, which I just add in the main model. So I just added the proxy gmap in here. I did some restrictions just for test purposes, and I'm passing all these parameters with the actual search word to the server, and therefore I had to read a lot of documentation and a lot of source code. Yeah, if there are no more questions for now, I'd say thanks a lot for joining me. It was a lot of fun. This was my first ever stream, and I hope you liked it. And again, if you liked it and you didn't subscribe yet, it would be awesome to see that, because that way I could, for the next stream, I know that a certain number of people know about it. This time, thanks to Sencha, they sent out the information, and yeah, if there's something you want to see in the future, just come back and follow me along, and probably you can add something to the comments if you would like to have a certain kind of application at the end. We can work on that. So for now, thanks a lot for joining, and I hope to see you again. Cheers!